Chuckie is away visiting his grandparents, Marvin and Shirley Finster, while Tommy and the DeVille twins are at the park with their moms. The babies see a baby bird on the walking path when they see a man in running shoes, which they refer to as the big shoes, jogging towards them. Tommy and the twins get out of the way, but Tommy realizes that the baby bird is still on the path. He manages to save it and return it to its nest with its two siblings. But then Tommy notices that he has a cut on his finger and starts crying, naturally. Sees blood dripping from it. Dee Dee uses her first aid kit to clean Tommy's cut and put a band-aid on it, a Reptar band-aid to be precise. Phil and Lil think Tommy's band-aid is cool and want one, but Tommy says it's a bad idea and describes his experience with it. In the playpen at Tommy's house, Phil and Lil are covering themselves in band-aids for their pretend boo-boos. Tommy doesn't want to play with them, still scared from what happened about the cut on his finger. Angelica then comes by and tells the three about the story of her first cut. She's playing on a piece of exercising equipment that belonged to her mom. Angelica says she fell off and skinned her knee really bad, and it started bleeding a lot. She claims to go to the hospital and to get medicine that would prevent her from getting an infection, and she also had to get stitches to close the cut. Tommy has a nightmare that night where Angelica and the twins are playing outside, and when he goes to join them, he falls down and sees that a stitching on his leg is open and stuffing coming out of it. The next day, Phil and Laura are playing ambulance with a red wagon, and when Tommy comes up to them, they ask him to be the driver. While Tommy's pulling the wagon, he turns around and sees the sharp corners of the wagon, gets nervous and starts sweating, but tells himself he'll be okay. Angelica and Dee Dee are walking towards the living room, with Dee Dee carrying her sewing machine. Angelica asks Dee Dee to sew a dress for a Cynthia double, and Tommy sees his mom walk into the living room and carrying her sewing machine. He screams and gets scared again. Stu decides to take Tommy, the twins, and Spike to the park. While at the park, Phil and Lil are playing while Tommy's looking at a book. The twins ask Tommy if he wants to play with them, but he says no. Spike gets loose and runs after a squirrel, and the babies get scared when they see Spike in the path of his two oncoming bikers. The two people simply bike around Spike, and thus he's okay. Phil and Laura are surprised that Tommy didn't even try to save Spike, and later that night when Stu and Dee Dee put him to bed, Stu's perplexed as to why Tommy didn't even try playing. At first they think he's sick, but then they decide the reason he's acting so weird is because he misses Chuckie and thinks that Tommy will probably be happy when Chuckie gets home the next day. Chuckie tells Phil and Lil about what a great time he had at his grandparents' place, and his grandpa even gave him a pinwheel. The twins think the pinwheel is really cool, but when Chuckie says he wants to show it to Tommy, they reveal Tommy's been acting really weird, which Chuckie is confused by. When Tommy comes up to them, he's really glad to see Chuckie, and Chuckie starts telling him about what a great time he had with his grandparents. He shows Tommy the pinwheel, but Tommy gets scared and imagines the pinwheel cells turning into sharp blades. He pushes it out of the way, and in the process, accidentally pushes Chuckie down the hill. When Tommy sees his friend hang toward the big thorny bush that had given Tommy his cut, he rolls down the hill to save Chuckie. He does so, but he gets another cut in the process. Chuckie notices the cut, but Tommy says that even if he loses all his blood and shrivels up or gets an infection, saving Chuckie will have been worth it. Chuckie asks Tommy why he thinks those things might happen. Tommy tells Chuckie about his first cut. Chuckie says that he had a boo-boo just like Tommy's, and he says he wants to show Tommy something. He takes the band-aid off Tommy's finger. Tommy gets worried that it'll start bleeding again, but Chuckie points out that his first cut is almost healed. Tommy gets excited as since his old cut healed, his new one will heal as well. He shows his healing cut to Phil and Lil. When Stu and Dee Dee come by, they notice Tommy's new cut and are wondering why he's not crying. Chaz comes up to them and faints when he sees the blood from Tommy's cut. Stu then expresses his thankfulness on the fact that they have a first aid kit to treat Tommy's cut. The baby bird that Tommy saved in the beginning tries to fly while shedding a couple of feathers. Chuckie and the DeVille twins are hanging out at Tommy's house. They're helping Tommy reach a carrot-shaped trophy from on top of the shelf in his living room. They assume it's a toy of some kind, but are having trouble since they're so little. Chuckie suggests that they should wait until they're older and bigger to reach for the trophy, so that way they won't have to stand on top of each other to be able to reach for things. But Tommy points out that if they do that, the trophy might not be up there anymore. Just then, Stu and Lou come into the living room, with Stu carrying a bunch of newspapers that he got from Lou's room. Lou explains that he's been collecting the gardening section from the newspaper for the last year to be able to grow giant vegetables, and that he's growing a giant crookneck squash. Tommy, Chuckie, Phil, and Lil hear this and get the idea to try to and make one of themselves bigger the same way Lou's making his squash big. They decide to make Chuckie bigger since he's already the biggest out of the four of them. Tommy decides that once Chuckie is bigger than the pile of newspapers in front of the shelf with the trophies on, they should be able to reach the trophy. Tommy and the twins then do the same stuff that Lou's doing to his squash to Chuckie to try to make him bigger. While this is happening, Angelica and Drew come over and ask Sue to repair one of Angelica's toys while Angelica goes to hang out with her cousin and his friends. When the babies explain to Angelica what they're doing, Angelica says that Chuckie's always going to stay small, which of course isn't true. Just then, Lou notices how dirty Chuckie is and puts him into some clean clothes and puts his dirty clothes through the washer and dryer. However, Lou puts too much soap in the washer, which overflows the laundry room. He also puts the dryer on extra hot, which ends up making Chuckie's shirts and shorts too small to properly fit him. When Tommy and the twins see that Chuckie's clothes are too small, they assume that they successfully made Chuckie bigger. They go into the living room and see that Chuckie's now taller than the pile of newspaper. Lou had taken some to soak up the soap and water in the laundry room, and Chuckie is able to reach a trophy. It was moved closer to the edge by Stu and Lou. Try playing with the trophy, but are disappointed when they see it doesn't do anything. Just then, Angelica comes into the living room and says that Chuckie now has giantitis, which she claims means that Chuckie will soon grow too big to fit in his house, clothes, shoes, car, and pretty much everything else. Tommy, Phil, and Lil take it upon themselves to make Chuckie smaller, while Chuckie decides to stay in the living room so he doesn't step on anything. While this is happening, Angelica gets the idea to prank Chuckie into thinking that he squished her by cutting a picture of her face and gluing it onto a Cynthia doll. When Chuckie goes to Tommy and the twins and says that he accidentally squished Angelica, they then work harder to find a way to make Chuckie smaller. Tommy gets the idea to get a big bucket of ice to try and make Chuckie smaller. He explains to Phil and Lil that one time when he hurt his leg and got a big swelling on it, Dee Dee had to put ice on it to make the swelling go down. He figures it should work on Chuckie. Angelica now gets the idea to make Chuckie think that he squished all the adults. She glues pictures of the adults' faces onto various dolls and stuffed animals to put around Chuckie while he doesn't notice. Naturally, Stu and Drew walk in the living room with Angelica's now fixed toy, and they're both shocked to see all the pictures Angelica cut up. Drew yells out for the kids and startles Tommy and the twins, causing them to accidentally toss the ice bucket into the air. The bucket falls onto Angelica's head, making her so panicked that she accidentally knocks Chuckie into a puddle. Angelica runs around trying to get rid of the ice that went on into her clothes, and in the process, accidentally destroys Lou's giant squash by trampling on it. Assuming that the babies dumped the ice on her on purpose, an angry Angelica trots menacingly towards them. Lou comes outside to see what all the commotion is about and is horrified to notice a destroyed squash. Covered in squash stains, Angelica then realizes what happened to her and starts wiping off her dress and shoes. Stu and Drew also come outside to meet up with Lou, who walks back inside, lamenting about not being able to earn another trophy. Drew sees what his daughter is doing and correctly assumes she was responsible for ruining his dad's squashes. He confronts Angelica about it, and she retorts that the babies made her do it. Drew doesn't believe this and shows her the cut-up pictures, knowing she was behind that too. Drew threatens to take away Cynthia cappuccino machine unless she apologizes to her grandfather and finds a way to make it up to them. Lou then, seeing a pie magazine, Lou has an idea and says that his destroyed squash might be able to be recycled into something even better. Chuckie and his friends walk back into the living room before they see that Chuckie is now shorter than the pile of newspaper. More was added to it. They think that they made Chuckie smaller again. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Lou is making a casserole, crookneck squash casserole, and making Angelica taste test it. Lou's decided to try various recipes made from squash after winning the pie contest. Lou's won the pie-shaped trophy from the competition, and the kids once again assume it's a toy of some kind. Chuckie says, well, I guess we'll just have to wait till we grow up to find out. Right, guys? Upon hearing this, Tommy, Phil, and Lil smile at him, evidently coming up with an idea, much to Chuckie's horror.